Hi everyone, my name is Fabiana and I make Sentro machine and crochet patterns every week for you guys. And today, because a lot of people actually ask me on YouTube how to make a bigger jumper um, that's not the size of the 48 machine, because as you know, our machines only have 48 needles, so we can only make on the panel option 45 stitches. I tried a bit more, but it's kind of it doesn't work really well, so 45 is the maximum number, maybe 46 if you're lucky. Anyway, 46 is enough for a medium size stretched, okay? And so most of the people want to make bigger sizes, so they've been asking me on YouTube a lot. So I decided to make a size this big for me, which is a normal jumper, just a normal jumper, but I want it to be a bit wider than what the machine can make. And so I'm gonna show you today how can you make a jumper that's not too small for you or is stretched on your body and that. So I'm going to do that today. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna share the pattern on my website, knittingmachinepatterns.com. Okay, I'm gonna put it there. So then there on inside that pattern, you're gonna have all the, sizes up and down, what you change on this pattern, so you can make your own size if you want. So I'm going to start making the sleeves because I'm not gonna use the tube to make the sleeves. If you wanna use the tube, it's gonna be like a bigger sleeve for a size medium, but probably a good size for a large and an extra large. I think 48 needles is good for large and extra large, okay? If you are using this option, if you are using a tube to make your sleeves, what you have to do, or you can use the tube to actually measure on this, but what you have to do is, sometimes, most of the time, what I do is I make a sample, okay? So I'm using this yarn today, it's a denim yarn, and it's like a 12 ply yarn, it's a thick yarn, but it's soft, okay? So thicker yarn, but soft, works on the machine. This one works very well. I'm gonna leave the link on the description below of this yarn because it's beautiful. It's a denim color. It's actually similar to this one, but it goes like butter on the machine. And it's a 10 ply, but the difference is sometimes we use that acrylic yarn like the Red Heart. A lot of people talk on Facebook groups that it doesn't work at all, and that's because the touch is not very good, very acrylic. And this one's made in India. Normally, like I would say, most of the time, yarn made in Turkey, India, Brazil, anywhere but not China. It's pretty good actually, because it's like soft and it goes well on the machine. All that acrylic stuff after 8 ply, can't really use it. So, okay, I'm making the sleeves first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the sleeves on top of my jumper and see how many stitches I need, okay, to make a half size for my body. So, as well, after finishing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure right here on myself. Can you see? Hope you can see it. I'm going to measure right on top of my body, and I put right from the shoulder, where is it gonna sit on the top, to the bottom, and see if this size is long enough and how many less stitches that I need to make half. As you can see, it goes a bit further than half. See, it goes a bit further than half. So what I'm going to do is, like, let's say it's here, you just count the number of stitches from here to here, and then you decrease from the total number of the sleeve size, which I use 40. So it's around 10 that are over the middle of my body, and so I'm using 30, okay, for the panels of the front and back. Like, let's say if you put this sleeve and it has 40 stitches on your body, and it goes right in the middle. That means you need 80. Okay, so I'm gonna start making the sleeves. If you're using tubes, make on tubes. If you're using medium or small, make around 40, 38 for a small, but I think 40 for a small, for a medium, and a large is good. And then I made the sleeves with 90 rows. I thought it could be a bit longer, okay, so probably 100 on using this yarn, but again, it's very important to make a sample. So make a sample, measure everything, see how many more centimeters or inches you need on each side, you know, and then you can even put this back on your machine and just keep going. So I made 2 panels, 90 rows I made by 40 stitches. Okay, see, if you want a longer sleeve, make 110, like, yeah, I'll probably make a little longer, but my arm is long as well, so that's why you always have to make a sample. So there you go, I have 2 panels for the sleeves, okay. And now I'm going to crochet on the top of each sleeve to close it. And then I'm going to stitch them together with the invisible stitch that I showed you before, but I'm gonna show again anyway. I'm gonna stitch them both together. Stitch them like this. So I'm gonna join them like this. So it's gonna be a tube, really. I know. Okay, if you made a tube already, you can go for it. Skip this step. Panels, 2 panels for the back, straight on the back, and then I made for me, a medium size, I made 30 stitches each panel, which is gonna give me 60 stitches at the end. Okay, so I'm gonna make the same thing for the front, but what I did on the front was this. So what I do is I place markers. So you can do for yourself each size, whatever size you want, you know what I mean? So I'm explaining to you how I actually do for myself. So here, put the panel right on the top where it's gonna sit, okay? And then place the marker where you wanna start your V-neck. So I want to start my V-neck very low here. So I place a marker here where I want to start my V-neck. And then also you can place a marker here, and that's how big you want this piece for your shoulder. And then you can place a marker here as well, so you know how many stitches you have to decrease. And that's gonna be from here to here. So I'm going to decrease 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 stitches. And I'm going to leave this number of stitches for my shoulder. So place a marker there as well. So after I place the markers on measuring on myself and where I want the V-neck to start, which is here, I'm going to count how many rows I'll have to make just straight, just like the back and the front panels. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is, it's quite easy and it's fast, okay? So you can't really use row counters to make clothes. I mean, how are you gonna count on a row counter this way? Anyway, I'm gonna count all the way to this here. And so to count, I'm going to count these little V's here. See, there's little V's, each one is 1 row. So count always on the first row, just because if you can get lost if you're going up or down, if you counting on the next on the other rows. So let's start this row here. Let's start to make the front panel, and then I'm gonna explain to you how to make the front only, because the one side only, because the other side's gonna be just a reflection of the other side. So I made for this front panel, I made 46 rows, okay? Because I wanted to just start my v-neck a little further down. So I made less rows than what I said. And so I'm gonna place a marker right here, so I know this is where I started. And now from here to the top I have to count 44 rows, and I'll have to decrease around 15 stitches. So it's gonna be, you just divide really 44 by 14 or 15 and see how many rows you get. You might have to decrease 2 on the same one, but yeah. And when you finish, you have to basically have 14 stitches left, which is half of it. Well, I'm actually gonna decrease 15 and what's left, okay? Because I think it's enough for the middle. And I'm gonna put on the pattern, so if you wanna purchase the pattern will be available on my website, knittingmachinepatterns.com. Okay, that's where I put all my patterns, and on Etsy as well if you wanna get it there. But so now I'm gonna start decreasing stitches. I'm going to decrease 1 in each row, a few rows, sometimes for probably now on the beginning I'm going to decrease more. So I'm going to decrease on this row, the next row, and then I'm gonna do a few rows. But normally what I make maximum 3 rows, and then I decrease again. So I'm going to make decrease now, decrease the next row, and then I'll put on the pattern the rest, because it's just, yeah, or at the end here. So remove 3 stitches like we always do. Make sure you don't lose it like I did here. Okay, remove the 3 and back all the way halfway here, and then we're gonna remove this one. If you made my patterns before, you know I decrease, most of the time I decrease stitches to make the shapes that I want to make, and then put this here as well. Okay, so I'm still gonna count the same 90 rows that I have on the panels for the back, but from here, so I made 46, I'll have to, after this marker here, I'll have to count 44 to the top, which is 90. Okay, so now I'm going to start my row. Make sure that second one, see, it can get, you can lose the stitch like that, so put that stitch down, because it has 2, gets stuck sometimes, okay? And then make sure it gets done right, so you don't lose it or it doesn't get tucked or anything like that. And then just make this row all the way there and back, and then when we are back here, we're gonna decrease 1 more this time, okay? So what I'm going to also do is, remember we count a number of stitches for the shoulder that we wanted on the shoulder. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a marker where I have to stop decreasing, so I know as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Let's say it's 14 we want. Just place a marker there so you know when you reach here, you can stop decreasing. Okay, so I'm still decreasing, I'm still going. I'm going to decrease again, but I still have a lot of stitches to go. As you can see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 still. I might leave a bit more here. As I said, this number is actually variable. You just have to make sure you make both the same thing on both panels. So while you're decreasing it, it's probably good that you write on a paper, and I'm gonna do that right now, otherwise I'll forget. Okay, so write on a paper, and when you go through the other panel for the other side of your V-neck, you do exactly the same thing. Okay, now as you can see, I only have 14 stitches left here, and I already made one full row without the yarn, and I'm just going to remove this way with the waste yarn, just because we want to crochet this part later or finish this part later and join with the top of the other side. So it's good to have them all loose, so it's easier to, you know, see what you're doing and just put one in front of the other. So here I got both sides of my sweater, and as you can see, that's the V-neck we are making, and then we're gonna finish it later with a circular needle, and then make the ribbing here. Now if you are a beginner and you feel it's probably gonna be a bit too hard to make this V, so if you want to make 4 panels the same size like I did here, okay, so you can make 4 panels with the same size, and then just make the ribbing on the top of the panels here with the circular needles as well, these ones. Okay, circular needles that I recommend 32 inches long. Okay, they are very long, so you can put a lot of stitches through. Otherwise, if they are shorter than that, it probably won't fit all the stitches you're gonna have for a round neck if you are making the panels straight. Okay, I'm making this way. So now what I'm going to do with my invisible stitching, and I'm gonna put the link on the description below, I'm going to stitch here, and I'm going to stitch both panels of the back as well. As you can see, I put them all in needles like that because it's gonna be easy to join them together later. I want to join this way, and I'm going to put needles through these two just to make it easier. So let me show you quickly. So I bought this online on eBay, and it's a set of needles. I'm gonna put on the description below as well because it's really useful. Like if you have these fine needles, like this one is a 3mm needle. Okay, this one's a bit thicker, but it doesn't really matter because we just want to put the stitches in the needles to make our work easier. So I use the waste yarn to cast off. I always do this way with another yarn because I think it's just really visible, really easy to see. And so you want them, let me see here. So I'm gonna join this with this one. So we want both needles facing the same way because we want to start removing the stitches after we sew them to sew them together. Okay, to do that, all you do is pull this waste yarn a bit, just slide the needle through the stitches here like I'm doing. It is quite easy. Let me see, I hope the focus is on my hands. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna do that with all the panels, so I have also more control over my stitches as well. in a way that I can do everything, like, and I'm not gonna have any of them dropped as well. So I'm doing that with, so now you can remove the waste yarn and it's all in your needle, okay? And they're facing the same way, so when I start stitching here, because I'm going to make a stitch to join them together, they are facing the same way, and I can remove the stitches that way. So I finished this one, and that's what it looks like now. Pretty perfect finishing, can't even see the stitches. Anyway, so as you can see, my V is to the inside of this of the sweater, and also the back V, which I already put in a needle, finishing on the outside. So on the straight part of the sweater, I'm going to have my needle facing this way, just so I can start from the end of the shoulder to the middle here, and as well see the V is in the middle of the sweater. That's very important. So I always, when I finish my panels, I leave long tails so I can use them to stitch later. That's what I'm going to do now. So I'm gonna face them this way because it's just easier for me. Okay, so face them both same way, like this. Okay, and I'm gonna put very close for you guys to see. So I'm on this side here. I'm going to put the first stitch through, then on the other side. So it's gonna go down and up on the next one. So down on this one, this yarn splits a lot, so down on this one and up inside the next one. Okay, see if I can make it faster. So I can remove these two from this needle, and then we're gonna put through the first one, the first stitch there, like down this one, and up on the next one, and removing them from the needles. That's why I like to use needles, because then it's really easy to see the stitches. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the next stitch, is this very next one. Let me see if this is right. Yes. So I'm gonna go through this one and down on the other one, on the first loop. This is the first loop, down here. And then again, so you can see very clear here, inside this one and up on this one. To form the same V that I had, the same V's that I had before. And then to finish it off, just make I'm gonna put it through here. And then I'm just gonna make a little knot on the back here. I'm still gonna leave, I'm gonna probably, yeah, I always like to leave the tails all the way to the end, just in case I need the tail to stitch something else. So I'm gonna leave this tail here. So now I'm going to stitch both parts together, so in the middle. Okay, we're gonna worry about the sleeves later on. First we're gonna go through this part here, through the body of our our sweater just to make the v-neck after that. So I'm going to start with this yarn that I had left from the other that I cast off from the other panel, and I'm going to start stitching, making that invisible stitch, which is gonna be through this first row here. See this first stitch here? That's our first row. So I'm going to put through here and here, and I'm also gonna share a little drawing so you guys can see. So if you are in one side, just go through the other side first. Okay, and here as well on that last two, we're gonna get two in between both V's, this little loop there. And then on the other side, so going from one side to the other, right on the next stitch, which is this one. So now that both sides are sewed together, as you can see here, okay, this is my v-neck. I'm going to put that bottom part of the other side through, so I'll probably, you can probably put them all going this way. So what you do is see where the waste yarn is. This is the waste. It runs through all the stitches, so if you pull it, it makes it easier to see which one's the next stitch, because sometimes the stitches, they disappear in the middle of the second loop. So if you pull it, it comes up again. So that's what I'm doing for the bottom of the two panels of the front. So after I place all the panels inside my needles, I'm gonna start the ribbing. And I just made a knot on the last yarn that I had here connected to this panel to start the work. So the first stitch, I'm going to start making a knitted stitch, which is just, you just grab the yarn, the loop, and put to the other side. And well, the second one I'm gonna knit. Okay, so this is gonna be a purl in the neck on the next row, and then I'm going to purl this one and knit the second one. I'm going to purl and knit. It's gonna be a 1x1 ribbing for this one, just because I'll have to decrease stitches on the my v-neck that I'm making ribbing as well, and then that's why I'm using 1x1 ribbing. Oops, this was purl. In case you don't know, knitted stitches are these V's here. Purl stitches are these ones here. Okay, so the V's are the knitted stitches, the purl are the ones with the loop on the top. And when you come to the next row, we're gonna just work on top with the same stitch. So this is a knit, this is a purl. Knit, purl. So I'm going to just do that the entire row, and I'm gonna be repeating around 10 rows, I think. Now, right here on the beginning, I'm just gonna place a marker so I know where the beginning of where I started the row. So when I get to around 10, I'm going to just start casting off from this same place here. So here I made 10 rows, and the way you count it is from here, from where you started the ribbing. That's sort of where the marker is. You count the number of these, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I have 10 rows, and I stopped right where I have the marker, okay? And so now I already made these 2 first stitches, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to only put the loop of the second one over the top of the first one, and this way close the stitch. So I'm gonna knit them all this time, just because for me, like, it's good enough like this, and it looks like that, so it's alright, okay? So you knit, and then you put the second loop on top of the first one, and we're gonna repeat this all around. Okay, now let me tell you, if you just finished your panel, like this is a panel I finished for my both sleeves, what you can do, and it's really easy, you can just put the circular needle through all the stitches and then just finish like this, because you don't really need to make the ribbing, you can just finish like this straight away. So this is a way to finish. So because I have to put the stitches through on the right side, I had to actually move from one needle to the other, from one needle to the other. So, and then to another, and then one more time to this. I'm sorry about that, it was just messy. So this, I had a tail here, and I'm gonna actually join with this one here. If you don't have a tail, just make a knot right on the beginning there, where you're gonna start casting on stitches. Okay, this has to be done through the right side of your work, okay? Otherwise it doesn't look good, because I just tried before for the first time. So we're gonna put our needle through here, this spot right there, and just pull the yarn through this way. Okay, then we're gonna jump through this. We're gonna use this first stitch here, see this first V here, we're gonna use always the same one, otherwise looks weird at the end. And then we're gonna start pulling stitches. So I'm gonna skip one row, and on the next row I'm gonna pull it again, because otherwise we're gonna have too many stitches, okay? And our V-neck's gonna be flabby. I think that's how you call it anyway. So I'm skipping one V and grabbing the stitch on the second one, skipping one, grabbing the stitch. I'm gonna repeat this all the way around my V-neck until I get to where I started, right there, okay? As you can see here, I have all my stitches of my V-neck in my needles, my circular needle now. And now I'm just gonna start make the ribbing, same thing we did before. we're making the same ribbing from the bottom. Like you can make 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, but make sure you make the same one on on all parts of your sweater, so it looks like nice at the end, I would say. So you can start with a knit here, and then purl. These stitches, sometimes the loops can be twisted, so the first loop has to be in front of the second one. And plus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a marker where I started here. Started on this stitch here, just so I know when I get there that I finished my row. So I'll be making around 6 rows here. I don't want as wide as this one. I want a bit smaller, and making the same way we did before, really. I'm just turning these stitches around because they are facing the wrong way, so the first loop has to be in front of the second one to make the purl stitch, okay? So when I get here right in the middle where I put this, where I have these 2 markers, I'm gonna show you how to make. Now I'm gonna be making the first row, I'm gonna be making normally, and then after the first row I'm gonna be decreasing stitches here right in the middle. So make this first row just normally, and then on the second row we are going to decrease 3 together right in the middle. So I'm here right in the middle of my work. As you can see, both my markers on the back part of it, and I already made a few rows just to see if it's gonna work. And so this is the middle stitch here, where as you can see the markers are right on top of it. Okay, so one stitch before this middle stitch here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull them off with the other needle, both together, okay? And then you're gonna make the next stitch after the middle one, just like you did before, and then you're gonna pull both of them in front of that one you just made. And this is gonna look how it's gonna look like at the end. So we made 2 together this way, and then after that all you do is just keep repeating your knitted and purl stitches. So I'm not sure if I said, but you have to decrease stitches every row, okay? So it's always one before the middle, you grab them both together, and then do the same way I showed you before, but it's every single row, but not the first row, okay? From the second onwards. So I made 7 here, and I'm going to start casting off my stitches. So I just wanted to show you guys so you can see it. That's how it looks like after I finish this V-neck. It fits perfectly, actually very happy about it. And this is the back of it. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna close both these sides here and add the sleeves to it. And so I place markers where I want my sleeves to go, so right on the top there, so I know I'm on the right place. Okay, I always do that actually. and right on the bottom here where I wanted to finish. Okay, and so now I'm going to start with my tapestry needle and my thread. You can be using the one that come with the machine too, this one. You can be using this one. But I'm going to make a knot and I'm going to start stitching from the bottom to the sleeve. Okay, so the stitching is the same one of that we join the panel, so because we're gonna join panels again. So all you do is you make a knot on the other side, grabbing both parts. Make a little knot here, then we can finish that off later. Then put the needle through to the other side. And we're going to join both panels all the way to where the marker is. So it's better to use the very last stitch to stitch it. That's what I'm doing. So got here right in the middle there, and I started the back way. So the way I'm making these stitches this way, I'm going to, and this all the way around, I'm going to grab these last 2 loops here and work them, and then I'm going to grab this loop here, the same one I was doing on the side here, and then again these 2 loops here. As you can see, it's the continuation of the V, and then on the other side, in between both loops here. And so this is the way it's looking like. It's pretty good, so much better than the stitches I used to use before, and that's because I've been doing some research on how to stitch. So this is how my entire stitching looks like. Can't even tell it's stitched, so good. Okay guys, so I'm going to go finish them both, and then I'm gonna try it on and show you guys how it's like. So how do you finish a panel? Like many people say that this the beginning of the panel looks like a mess, and it really does. So the first thing you have to do is find this piece of yarn here that runs through all the stitches, this one here, and just kind of pull it a bit so you know where it is, because you have to fully remove this when you finish your piece. Okay, second thing is you have to attach another piece of yarn, or I can probably be using this one that I used to stitch, and then just make a knot here to make it longer. So I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna put this yarn to the back, but this yarn here, it's really useful because if you pull it, you can actually see the stitches. So I'm going to put my hook through. I'm going to make a stitch here, so I have this yarn, the tail here, closer to the stitches, and then I'm going to start to working with 2 stitches, and all you do is put the yarn over the hook and pull it. Make sure this loop's big, so when you finish your work, it's not too tight at the bottom. So put through the second stitch, pull it. If you can't really see the next stitch, all you have to do is just pull this yarn that you're gonna remove later anyway, and then the stitch will come up. It's a really easy way to see where the stitch is. And then after you made that very last stitch, gonna pull through the first one. Then I'm gonna start on the next row after, but first we are going to see here. That's why I told you to pull that yarn that runs through all the stitches, because now all you have to do is just pull it and it will come off. Okay, so this is how it looks like, our panel finished. And then now I'm just gonna make a last row just so it doesn't curl. You chain one, and then we're gonna work in each single stitch and just put the hook through, yarn over and pull it. The hook through the second one, yarn over and pull it. This yarn splits a lot, even though it goes good through the machine, it splits. So there you go. This is my last row here. And then our V-neck sweater is ready. So this is our sweater. Came out beautifully, hasn't it? I'm in love with it. Look at the neck's perfect, really like it. All the stitching, you know, I'm glad I looked on Pinterest how to make it. So yeah, I'm loving it. And that's the skirt I made before. That's jeans and crochet. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Give me a like to this video. Super thanks if you wanna help my business, and I see you next week.